and they have conservative values, and they have Judeo-Christian values. And to force those people to work in a small, tight unit with somebody who is openly homosexual, who goes against what they believe to be their principles, and it is their principles, is, I think, a disservice to them. And I agree with Colin Powell that it would be bad for unit cohesion.
I want to direct this to Governor Huckabee. 30 seconds.
The Uniform Code of Military Justice is probably the best rule, and it has to do with conduct. People have a right to have whatever feelings, whatever attitudes they wish, but when their conduct could put at risk the morale or put at risk even the cohesion that Duncan Hunter spoke of, I think that's what is at issue, and that's why our policy is what it is.
Governor Romney, you said in 1994 that you looked forward to the day when gays and lesbians could serve, and I quote, openly and honestly in our nation's military. Do you stand by that?
This isn't that time. This is not that time. We're in the middle of a war. The people who have watched...
Do you look forward to that time, though, one day?
I can listen to the people who run the military to see what the circumstances are like, and my view is that at this stage, this is not the time for us to make that kind of a change.
Is that a change in your position from...
Yeah, I didn't think it would work. I didn't think don't ask, don't tell would work. That was I didn't think that would work. I thought that was a policy. When I heard about it, I laughed. I said, that doesn't make any sense to me. And you know what? It's been there now for, what, 15 years? It seems to have worked.
So just so I'm clear, at this point, do you still look forward to a day when gays can serve openly in the military or no longer?
I look forward to hearing from the military exactly what they believe is the right way to have the right kind of cohesion and support in our troops, and I'll listen to what they have to say.
All right. General Kerr is, as I said, is here. Please stand up, General. Thank you very much for being with us. Did you feel you got an answer to your question?
With all due respect, I did not get an answer from the candidates.
What do you feel you did not?
American men and women in the military are professional enough to serve with gays and lesbians. For 42 years, I wore the Army uniform on active duty, in the reserve, and also for the state of California. I revealed I was a gay man after I retired. Today, don't ask, don't tell is destructive to our military policy. Every day, the Department of Defense discharges 2 people, not for misconduct, not for the unit cohesion.
Wait, the mic has been lost. You've lost. Is the mic not working? All right. Please just finish your question. What is your question?
For the unit cohesion that Congressman Hunter is talking about, but simply because they happen to be gay.
Okay.
And we're talking
Senator
about
McCain.
Doctors, nurses, pilots, and the surgeon who sews somebody up when they're taken from the battlefield.
I appreciate your comment, Senator McCain. I want to give you 30 seconds. You served in the military.
General, I thank you for your service to our nation. I respect it. All the time I talk to our military leaders, beginning with our Joint Chiefs of Staff and the leaders in the field, such as General Petraeus and General Odierno and others who are designated leaders with the responsibility of the safety of the men and women under their command and their security and protect them as best they can. Almost unanimously, they tell me that this present policy is working, that we have the best military in history, we have the bravest, most professional, best prepared, and that this policy ought to be continued because it's working.
All right, we've got another question. Let's listen.
Hi, my name is David Cercone. I would like to ask all the candidates if they accept the support of the log cabin Republicans, and why should the log cabin Republicans support their candidacy?
Governor Huckabee, would you allow support from the log cabin Republicans, a group of gay Republicans?
You know, in my position in this entire election, I need the support of anybody and everybody I can get. So I'm happy.
Should they support you?
Sure they should. I disagree with them, strongly disagree with them on the idea of same-sex marriage. But in a democracy, we can have disagreements over some policies and still agree on the greater things that make us Republicans. So would I accept their support? Of course. Would I change my position on same-sex marriage? No, I wouldn't. But if they're willing to support me, I'll be their president. I'll be anybody's president. But I'll be true to my convictions, and I think that's what Americans look for. Not someone they're going to agree with on everything, but somebody who at least has some convictions, sticks with them, can explain them, and can at least have respect for people who have different ones.
Another question about the local economy.
This is Adam Florzak of Illinois. The national debt is now growing so quickly it will have increased by over $500,000 in just the time it takes to ask this question. Over the years, politicians have borrowed just under $2 trillion from the Social Security Trust Fund to cover these massive budget deficits, and now the retirements of our generation are at risk. What will you do as president to help repay this money and restore the trust?
Senator Thompson, a lot of retirees here in Florida. 90 seconds.
Well, one of the things I would do for his generation is protect him from our generation. He's absolutely right. We're spending his money, we're spending his children's money, and we're spending the money of kids yet to be born. In 2017, Social Security will be in the red. Pretty soon it'll be out of money, it'll go bankrupt. In fact, our entitlement programs put together will take over the entire budget by about 2040. So that's why I get back to the point I made earlier. All these programs that we talk about in the news every day are a thimbleful in the ocean compared to the entitlement tsunami that's coming to hit us. Now, we can do some things now, as I've proposed about Social Security, without having to really hurt anybody and give people to invest for their future while they're still working. Or we can wait and let our grandkids or children, depending on how old they are, solve this problem that we have left them. It's not only a fiscal issue, it's a moral issue as far as I'm concerned.
Governor Governor Romney, 30 seconds.
Thank you. That's one of the problems we face, and a big one, which is the overspending in Washington and the debt and the obligations we have. We also face tough new competition coming from Asia. We face global jihad, which we just talked about very briefly. We face a whole series of extraordinary problems, overuse of oil, entitlements out of control. It's time for us to recognize we're going to have to take a new course in this country, not follow Hillary Clinton off to the left, instead to follow the pathway Ronald Reagan blazed, which is to say we're going to have a stronger America with a stronger economy and have somebody who understands how jobs come and go, who understands what propels our economy, will strengthen our economy, strengthen our military, and strengthen our families.
Trying to get as many of the YouTube questions in as possible. Let's get another one here from another viewer.
My name's Steve Nielsen, and this question comes to you from Denver, Colorado. JFK's vision put a man on the moon from a non-existent space program in about 7 years. The new vision for space exploration has provided about 15 years for that same feat. Meanwhile, Congress is pulling funding for humans to Mars research altogether. Is there a candidate amongst you willing to take a pledge on behalf of the Mars Society of sending an American to the surface of Mars by 2020? If not, what is your vision for human space exploration?
Governor Huckabee, NASA pumps some $5 billion into Florida's economy.
Whether we ought to go to Mars is not a decision that I would want to make, but I would certainly want to make sure that we expand the space program, because every one of us who are sitting here tonight have our lives dramatically improved because there was a space program. Whether it's these screens that we see or the incredible electronics that we use, including the GPS systems that got many of you to this arena tonight. Some of you were late because you didn't have one, by the way. Or whether it's the medical technologies that saved many of our lives or the lives of our families. It's the direct result of the space program. And we need to put more money into science and technology and exploration. Now, whether we need to send somebody to Mars, I don't know. But I'll tell you what, if we do, I've got a few suggestions, and maybe Hillary could be on the first rocket to Mars.
Congressman Tancredo, 30 seconds, please.
The question is a serious one and deserves a serious answer, and that is this. Look, we've been, how many times up here, how many questions have we dealt with the issue of deficit spending, the debt out of control? And yet we have somebody saying, but would you spend more money on going to Mars? And a suggestion that we need to spend more money on space exploration. This is it, folks. That's why we have such incredible problems with our debt, because everybody's trying to be everything to all people. We can't afford some things, and by the way, going to Mars is one of them.
All right. Let's move on. Another question here from